Imagine stabbing a man who's never harmed you. Warm blood soaks your hands. He stares you in the eye, mouth open, speechless. And you know one thing for sure. You just sold your soul for 20 pieces of silver, barely enough money to live for 3 months. That is the reality of a medieval assassin. Not Assassin's Creed, not John Wick. It's hell on earth. You're watching Flow of History. Today, we're dissecting the worst job in human history. A job where 9 out of 10 died in the first year, where survivors lost their humanity, and in the end, left nothing behind but an unnamed corpse. The medieval assassin. The one job even the devil would refuse. So who would be insane enough to take this job? The answer will chill you more than any horror movie. Hollywood lied to you. The assassin wasn't an elite warrior trained from birth, not a mystical ninja or a knight of honor. They were the homeless, bankrupt farmers, unemployed mercenaries, craftsmen kicked out of their guilds. They were the socially dead, so no one cared if they actually died. Imagine, the harvest has failed 3 years straight. Your children are starving. The Lord raises taxes. You sell everything, even your tools. Winter comes. You have no food, no shelter. A stranger at the tavern slides a small purse over, whispers a name. That's the moment you become an assassin. This wasn't a choice for the strong. It was the last resort of the desperate. You think you had other options? Think again. Society had already erased you before you ever picked up the knife. So, was the money worth it? Brace yourself for the numbers. 20 pieces of silver. That was the price for a mid-level noble's life in 13th century England. Sound like a lot? Let me shatter that illusion. The cost of killing a man. Buying info, bribing servants, guards. 3 to 4 coins. Tools. A good knife, poison, disguise. 5 to 6 coins. Waiting time, room, board, maintaining a cover. 8 to 10 coins. Total. 16 to 20 coins. You just broke even, if you're lucky. But what if the target has more guards than expected? What if you get injured and need a secret doctor? What if you get caught and have to bribe your way out? You're bankrupt. And what if your client decides not to pay you after the job is done? What are you going to do? Sue them? Remember, 9 out of 10 assassins died in the first year. Even the survivors averaged about 12 contracts before they died or fled. At that rate, they earned maybe 50 to 100 silver coins in their entire career, enough to live a normal life for 1 or 2 years. In exchange, you lost your soul. But the money wasn't the worst part. What was waiting for you was far, far worse. Forget hidden blades that shoot from your wrist. The medieval assassin's tools were a dull kitchen knife, a rotten rope, and homemade poison where you didn't even know the correct dose. The dagger, your main weapon, cost a few pennies or was looted from a dead soldier. Medieval metal was unstable. The blade could break on bone, be too soft to pierce leather, or be so brittle it shattered on impact. Many assassins carried 3 to 4 knives because they didn't trust any of them. Every time you held it, you prayed it wouldn't betray you. Poison was even worse. Poisonous plants, hemlock, belladonna, foxglove, had to be harvested in the right season, prepared correctly, and stored perfectly. One wrong step? You just make the victim vomit instead of die. Or worse, you poison yourself while making it. Hemlock was easy to find, but the dosage was a guess. Too little, just a stomachache. Too much, convulsions the whole neighborhood hears. Belladonna was stronger, but took hours to kill, plenty of time for the victim to identify you. Arsenic and mercury were more reliable, but outrageously expensive and only available from doctors or alchemists. You'd spend months buying it on the black market, only to find it was diluted. And even if you had good tools, you had to get close enough to smell their breath, to see the fear in their eyes, to feel the warm blood on your hands. Think you could handle that? Most people couldn't. That's why they chose poison to kill from a distance. But could they escape the nightmare? Humans are not built to kill. Our brains are programmed to avoid violence, to seek connection. So what happens when you force yourself to do the unnatural? The first kill is a nightmare. Court records show assassins taking hours, even days, to build up the courage. They'd approach the victim, knife in hand, and run away. Come back, run away, Some could never do it and fled forever. Those who did it described leaving their body dissociation to survive the trauma. Immediately after the kill, many would vomit uncontrollably. Some fainted on the spot. Others stood like statues, just staring at what they'd done. Guilt, horror, and self-loathing hit like a tidal wave. But the most terrifying part? The human brain has an incredible ability to adapt. The second time is easier. The third time becomes normal. The psychological barrier that stops us from being monsters erodes. To survive this job, you must turn off empathy, murder your conscience, and sever all human connection. You become less human every single day. Most assassins became addicted to alcohol or opium to escape. But being drunk equals sloppy equals getting caught. Sleep became a battlefield. Nightmares of victims' faces, of your future torture, of the hell awaiting you. PTSD flashbacks, hypervigilance, emotional numbness, unable to love anyone. And the worst part, you are completely alone. You can't tell anyone. No priest is safe for confession. No family to lean on. Some justified it. I'm removing evil men. I'm serving justice. But the words were hollow. Others embraced their monstrous nature, taking pride in emotionless killing. Both were signs of a dead soul. Are you even human anymore, when your heart feels nothing? But even this wasn't the worst part, because if you got caught, think you're done after the kill? Wrong. Medieval investigation was crude, but surprisingly effective. Doctors back then, with no modern forensics, were experts at identifying murder. They could distinguish wounds from different weapons, estimate time of death, and even taste the victim's food to detect poison. Yes, they risked their lives tasting potentially toxic food. In small villages and towns, a stranger equals suspicious. If you stayed for a few weeks to prepare, everyone remembered your face. Witnesses would say, "Yeah, I saw a strange guy dressed as a merchant, but he wasn't selling anything." The tight-knit social network was the investigator's advantage. Torture was the main interrogation tool. They didn't just torture suspects, they tortured family, friends, anyone who might know something. The fear of torture made assassins live in paranoia. Anyone who knew their secret could confess under pain. This is why many assassins killed innocent witnesses to cover their tracks. Once your identity was known, a warrant was sent across the region. A huge reward was offered. Checkpoints, bridges, ports, all were watched. Bounty hunters, often ex-criminals themselves, were very good at their jobs. They knew the hiding spots, they knew the mind of a fugitive. And luck played a huge role. Many assassins weren't caught by brilliant detectives, but by coincidence, recognized by someone from their past, a random checkpoint, or letting something slip at a tavern. One small mistake equals game over. The data shows most assassins were eventually caught, maybe not immediately, but months or years later, the net would tighten. And when you were caught, if you think death is the worst part, you know nothing about medieval justice. Executing an assassin wasn't about ending a life. It was about turning you into a show, a living warning for the entire populace. Stage 1. Interrogation by torture. The strappado hung by your arms, tied behind your back until your shoulders popped out. The rack stretching your body until tendons and muscles tore. Branding with hot irons on your eyes, tongue, genitals. The goals: get information, punish, and prepare you for the main event. Stage 2. Public execution. The whole town gathered nobles dressed up. Merchants sold food. Children were brought by their parents to learn a moral lesson. The atmosphere was like a festival. The method depended on the crime's severity. The breaking wheel. Strapped to a wheel, your bones shattered, one by one, arms, legs, ribs, with an iron hammer. Slowly. Then you were left to die, which could take days. Flaying. Your skin peeled off in strips while you were still alive. This required skill, so you didn't die too quickly. Hanged, drawn, and quartered. Hanged until almost dead. Lowered, disemboweled, while conscious, cut into 4 pieces. Each piece was displayed in a different corner of the city. Burned alive. The fire was kept low to prolong the agony. Sometimes they were merciful, strangling you just before the flames got too high. It wasn't just your body they destroyed. It was your soul. Hundreds watched you die in humiliation. Your screams became their entertainment. After death, your body was not buried. It was left to rot in the sun and rain. Heaven was closed to you, as there was no proper burial. Your family, their property was seized, they were exiled, and your children were stigmatized for life. The punishment didn't stop with you. It spread like a plague. This was the fate waiting for 9 out of 10 assassins. And the 1 out of 10 who survived? They weren't human anymore. Assassins didn't just kill individuals. They killed trust in society. Nobles lived in paranoia, hiring food tasters, changing bedrooms nightly, surrounded by bodyguards, but who could they trust? They were suspicious of even their own wives and children. A life of wealth with no peace of mind. Huge costs for security meant less money for economic development. Travel became expensive and dangerous, reducing trade. The atmosphere of mutual suspicion divided society and crippled cooperation. Children grew up in fear, witnessing public executions, taught to trust no one. The next generation was raised with anxiety, insecurity, and personality disorders. The paradox. This fear of assassins pushed society to develop stricter laws, better investigation systems, and stronger central governments. Their very brutality became a catalyst for civilization. But the price was centuries of terror. By the late Middle Ages, the assassin profession vanished, not because of morals, but because it was obsolete. Kingdoms centralized power, built standing armies, and professionalized justice systems. Communication improved, news of criminals spread faster, making it harder to hide. The economy grew. People had other options besides crime. Firearms were invented, making it easier to kill, but also easier to defend. The market for outsourced violence disappeared. Professional soldiers replaced amateur killers. International law protected diplomats. Medicine advanced, victims survived more often. Insurance and finance developed. People managed risk with contracts, not daggers. Culture changed. The Renaissance celebrated reason and saw violence as barbaric. Education spread. People were more informed and less tolerant of crime. The assassin became an outdated symbol of a dark age. The job self-destructed. The more they killed, the stronger society reacted, building systems to counter them. The last assassins were obsolete ghosts, their skills useless, hunted by a modern police force they couldn't fight. So, there it is. The worst job in history, not because it was dangerous or low-paying, but because it erased your humanity. The medieval assassin was not a hero, not an anti-hero. They were victims of poverty, of injustice, of a world that gave them no other choice. But they were also perpetrators, killing the innocent, spreading fear, and devastating society. In the end, everyone lost. They died young, in agony, and were forgotten. Their employers remained in power, their victims were replaced, and the world moved on as if they never existed. The lesson isn't, don't be an assassin, that's obvious. The lesson is, when society abandons its people, monsters are born. When desperation is the only option, humans will do the unthinkable. The responsibility doesn't just lie with the one holding the knife, but with the system that pushed them there. Today, we still see it. Violence increases when inequality rises. Crime increases when education and opportunity are scarce. History repeats itself if we don't learn. If this video made you think, hit like, share, and subscribe to Flow of History, where we dig into the dark corners of history that textbooks won't teach. Comment below, what do you honestly think you would have done in their situation? Be honest, because only by facing the darkness can we truly see who we are. Thank you for watching. We'll see you on the next journey through history. Remember, the flow of history never stops, and we are all a part of it. Don't let the past repeat its tragedies. Stay curious, stay wise, stay human.